N'ezie gwa m unu, nwaanyị ajadu adandụrụ ogbenye tinyere ego karịa ndị niile tinyere ego n'igbe ahụ. Nke a bụ n'ihi na ha niile si na nnukwu akụ na ụba ha nye ntakịrị onyinye, ma nwaanyị a nyechara ihe niile o nwere, ihe niile fọdụrụ maka ndụ ya. Kpacharanụ anya gbasara ụfọdụ n'ime ndị ode akwụkwọ, maka na ọmụmụ ikpe nke ha kacha. I tell you solemnly, this poor widow has put more in than all who have contributed to the treasury. For they have put in money they had over, but she, from the little she had, has put in everything she possessed, all she had to live on. Beware of the scribes, for the sentence they will receive will be more severe. Why? These men are the men who swallow the property of widows while making a show of lengthy prayers. Otito dịrị Jesu. I don't know. Amaghị m ihe kpatara na nke agụna anyị n'Igbo hafụrụ ihe Jesu kwuru maka ndị na-elue ihe ụmụ nwaanyị ajadu. Ụmụ nwoke ndị a bụ ndị na-eri na-elue ihe ụmụ nwaanyị aja, swallow, ilue. They oppress widows. They oppress the poor. Na-emegbu ndị ha ka ike, ma na-abịa ha na-egosi na ha bụ ndị ekpere. They swallow the property of widows while making a show of lengthy prayers. But then the widow and widows are praised, blessed, because from the little they have, they give everything. Otito dịrị Jesu. We are all familiar with the statement, widow's mite. I repeat this every year that we read this reading. Biko, ine enye onyinye nye 1 million, 100,000, 50,000. Don't call it your widow's mite. Akparile widow. Ekpere go na abụọ a nwaanyị anyere aneke widow's mite. Those little coins for that moment was all she had to live on. Amaghị m onwere onye unu na-enye ihe niile o nwere okwu mere, tenke dị n'ụlọ, tenke nọ n'ime ashwa, fọ ndị ka nwere shade n'ashwa. I were enye onyinye. So ọ bụrụ na o nwere nke họrọ n'ụlọ, if there is still something you have left behind, give it joyfully, but don't call it your widow's mite. Don't insult the widow. That's one point. Second point. This widow was not sowing seed. Makada mama ihe na-eshini gị ike, father, man of God, pastor, bishop. So don't worry. Bring your thing. And once you give it to me, God will bless you and you will not lack. Ibuge Elijah, before you say it. Go on wogu we biazia. Ege haram neka on shabu 50,000. But now Marmananjiri meme bazaar this year. No make it taking we take 200,000. Na chukwa nga babonyo kerekeka. Men maleka chukwa shwa. Enurone chukwu no China. Mbaneja tak telatangwa shwa. Na te chukwa shwa imari onere. It's not business. It's not transaction. It is true. St. Paul teaches us God loves a cheerful giver. And he adds, thin sowing means thin reaping. Very true. You have a period of bazaar. Bazaar Cathedral ne mihere. Cathedral line in weten a bazaar. Ange rihe one zone in weten a bazaar in rural parishes. Mendo fada no ni mi mo bodo ni hamofo ni mirikala na elugwezike. Ne ngute ni fada iken na enyoko na atoria ne cathedral. Me ha mag ne fada iken na ahogote ego wo kumugwo oko ne cathedral. Otito diri Jesu. Asige mo onye nwere ihe nyele. Give as much as you can and happily. But don't let your giving always be conditioned by an expectation of a certain type of payment from God. The woman was not sowing seed. So Jesus praised her. She didn't know she was being observed, and only Jesus, because he is God, knew that she had given everything she had to live on. Oh, marage nogara. No one go hozo ham. Oh, makarno were hozo hag. She was expressing an absolute trust in God. She was not sure where the next meal will be coming from. But she knew she needed to make this offering as a religious obligation. Oworu moya lile angore benwayo tinye yagre nungwe wegre nungwe. The first reading talks about a widow. The gospel talks about a widow. There are two things at least common with these two widows. But one big difference. These two widows in Jewish culture, they are widows in Nsukka. Ya na-eme ụmụ nwaanyị ajadu na ebe ndị Juu mgbe Jesu nọ na mgbe Elijah nọ dịka ihe ndị Nsukka na-eme nwaanyị ajadu. And ụfọdụ ndị Igbo ọzọ na-anụrụ m te na Anambra, te na Imo, te na Ebonyi, te na Abia, na nwaanyị na-edi ya eji eburu tagda ahụhụ kpagide ego ha eji azụ ụmụ divuru nwaanyị ụzọ nwụọ umune dibia zogde ihe ha ga-esoguje akpata. Sorry. Igbo culture. When your culture is wickedness, it means that culture is to be thrown away. How can you, in good conscience, deprive a widow of what she has to live on in the name of culture? When your brother was struggling with that woman, iji koreka gneji aṅụ mmanya esi igbo eyi akatakpa eyi oriọkpa nwunye gị di nwanne gị na nwunye gị na-agba mbọ Ọnịcha, Nnewi, Lagos, Aba. Ị ga-anọdụ man of God na ndị amụma na ndị adoration gị na-asị gị na your brother has collected your star. Na ọ bụ nwa nwunye nwanne gị a nwa ajọ nwaanyị ọ nọtara bụ ihe mere na ide aga n'iru ọ bụ ya sị gị ngagide kai kai. O nwere ihe mere gị n'aka. You live such a dissolute life, unproductive life, and your brother spends his energy, his talent, in planning for his family and saving some money. Building a house in Aba, in Onitsha, in Nsukka, in Ubulaf, in Elugwezike. Onwoho is nobo, obia bedo homo, no mena line, mena algnoyi. Umena lunu bukangbo na bo. Mgbe nna nna anyị he na-asọ n'ọkpara nwee nkwụ eno ma osobe nwee nkwụ ebo ma ala ha bụ ọkpara na-akọ ya ma onu bụ nke ọ sọtara ga na-akọ ya. Ọ bụrụ na ọkpara anwụhụ na nwunye evulikonga ala jelabe nna ya. Ọ bụ ya ba ndị omenala na-asị na nwaanyị evulikoghị ihe ji anarị ya n'ala ta ujuru ta adọ ta ọjị ta nkwụ jalabe nna ya. Mana ọ bụrụ na ọ mụrụ ụmụ ọ ga na-eji n'ala ahụ na-enye ụmụ ya nri. Otito dịrị Jesu. Wee mgbe ndị be anyị si mụta ji ihe si na ọ bụ omenala, their sentence will be very severe. Ụmụ nwanyị ajadu na ndị umungbenye, orphans, they represent the poorest of the poor and biblical societies. And the society is judged by the way it treats the weakest members. Under politics, the bishop, I tiregu, boftegwu getejegu n'ihu he. Obuge abeja ma obodo do yo. Na obuge di ihe anyị na-eme ma ọ bụ na-eme ndị ga-enwego na-ekwuchite he. How do we treat people who have no power? Widows, orphans, the poorest of the poor. Ya beja judge obodo. Anybody who is in a position either in the community or in the government or in the society or in the church and exploits the poor, the widows, the orphans, their own sentence will be more terrible. So the woman in Elijah's, in the first reading, who attended to Elijah, and the widow in the gospel who gave all she had, they were united by one thing. Two things. One, but their poverty. When Elijah met this woman, because why? Time nika. Elijah nasi why time ni marnemi yadigmbere. He had prayed for there not to be rain. And the king and the wife were looking for him to kill him, and he ran away and ran to Sidon. While he came to Sidon, he met this widow when he came to Sidon. And he said, please bring me a little water. Wanyi kwekweri. Wanyi kweri no bioma. Jemo tatani obiabede ham ibiajana ka woten mokpa. Inachomi nenu nya nizi odo wa mbem nwere okpa. Bring me some bread. Which bread? I have nothing left. I came here to gather wood so that the little thing I have left, and my mishime, and chigdongo, Naria Goma. Nkabu T-Pain. Why are no negano T-Pain on an aho? Oh, yeah. Some Nigerians are in that situation now. They don't know where the next meal is coming from. And this was the very person Elijah encountered. And in all honesty, he made this request. And the woman accepted. But Elijah says, give me more. Know that once you begin to be generous, people will expect more from you. I don't think where you going to know enough. Eko heka me mekon baza asaka fonya o onu ka ogi. Onwe ndi ga enwe gi ndi nkuzi. Abugo ndi nkuzi leo maka na onwere ndi nkuzi na ezushi. Sorry. Mana ndi nkuzi ụgwọ ọnwa ha na the local government. Ha na nego le then the police. Mana oba de ha na baza onye omuchiche mu nwe n'ihu cathedral one night. Mgbe nehu sanctuary, mgbe cathedral, na-eme project support Sunday. So, but the cathedral, maka na ndị mmadụ na holiday, bidoro nke na vigil mass, midnight mass of Christmas. One woman here, bịa nọrọ kwe nkwa na ya na-enye 50,000, bagbasara be m kumere. I'm saying, she will with 50,000. Because I know her. I thought I knew her. But some Father Bishop, so some people whom you don't expect, they are the people who give and give more. Check in bazaar no this year. Check in last year. Check in 2, 3, 4 years ago. Under na kai go ihe heguru hekumau. Makana we're in the go auction. Gote 500,000. Ha kukogo. Ije bagde hogo hese obugo bem jogo. Obugo chuku bem kwerunkwa. Kamobu. Otito dirijes. Monya mungwero. When Elijah asked this poor woman for more, she became honest. I don't have more. Then Elijah told her, don't worry, bring me first. She made it, but she will never dry up. And she trusted Elijah. That is the second thing that unites, that these two widows have in common. Absolute trust in God. The woman must have perceived that Elijah was a prophet and had absolute trust in God who was speaking through Elijah. Prophet is somebody through whom God speaks. And she did as Elijah asked. The woman, the widow in the gospel, had absolute trust in God. That is what Jesus praised. Not seed sowing. And you know that afterwards, Jesus said, because of Iha o Mary, but look at this woman. The story is being told 2,000 years afterwards. But unlike Elijah, there are some people who will collect from the poorest of the poor. Onwere ụfọdụ ya nakọrọ ndị ogbenye ihe ha nwere wolwe. There are some who collect from the poorest of the poor. From widows and orphans, from struggling peasants and farmers and traders and workers. And I work 70,000 naira. And I'm in the state government. Snankeheje use it yourself per month. But some still collect from those people and swallow. And swallow. These were the scribes Jesus was referring to. So in today's gospel, today's readings, widows, orphans represent all those who, trusting in God, continue to do the right thing even when the situation is very difficult and they are in desperate conditions. The widow in this village of Zarephath and the widow in the gospel according to Mark, they represent all those who, in spite of their difficulty, inconvenience themselves to do the right thing. It may not always be money. It may be time. It may be knowledge. It may be experience. It may be expertise. It may be professionalism. You inconvenience yourself even when the circumstances don't suggest it, to do the right thing, because you know that is the will of God. These two widows represent you. But the scribes who swallow the property of the widows represent all those who exploit the people who trust in God. Those who trust in God will do the right thing, but some others will exploit the people who trust in God. O nwere ndị ọ bụ eke ọrụ na ndị ọdọn ịzacha okpuru Cathedral bụ ndị Legion, ndị ọdọn ịzacha around bụ ndị Charism, ndị ọdọn ịclean podium bụ ndị Sion. O nwere ndị na-abịa ọrụ a every time ekere ya, ma nwere ndị ga-abịa ka eke ọrụ ha jegide ọzọ. They exploit those who are willing, doing the right thing, inconveniencing themselves. Your sentence will be terrible. Oh, unu chere na ọ bụ sọsọ anyị bụ ndị fada ba na-agwa na ọmụne nke anyị ka abịajadumin. Government readings, if you take Mark's gospel, before this particular gospel, the one we read today, they had the Herodians and the Pharisees had questioned Jesus about paying tax, tribute to Caesar. Jesus encouraged everybody, fulfill your civic duties. Pay your tax. Pay your tax because the government needs your tax to work. But you know, every month, if you have a salaried job, your salary is not given to you in full. Government will take tax from it. Government will take away some money from it to keep aside for you when you are old and you are no longer working. It is called pension. Part of it, gratuity. Asubro ibo. Ego ma na akwụgo gị ahụgo wa akpabrie na ejidonu gị na atin gị na bank. Some people kpoma wori elue. You chop pensioners' money. You chop the gratuity of old men. Ide choko. He go choke you. Government. You are now in government. You are busy collecting taxes. You collect from big man. You collect from small man. You collect from rich man. You collect from poor man. Waiting you take our tax due. You swallow him, he go choke you. He go choke you. We complain that the soldiers, policemen, security personnel, they are not well paid. Go and check the budget of the Nigerian government on security. And the government will assign money for equipment and for payment of these struggling personnel. If the police stops you along the road to Enugu and you are complaining there are 10, 20 police checkpoints, that money no be then they chop am. Now got them they chop am. And they may returns. And the man will stand there under the sun and the rain for 8 hours and you expect him to have pity on you? Na lie. But these men who suffer these things, fighting Boko Haram, sometimes empty-handed, as they say, budgetary allocations for security and for security personnel, some people on top swallow them. He go choke you. You swallow the property of widows, general, inspector, whatever you are. You swallow the allowance of policemen and women. You call them men and officers. Because officers are not human beings. You will be man. Go swallow. You will be officer. Go swallow the thing will belong to men and women. He go choke you. Your sentence will be severe. Father, bishop, pastor, general overseer, man of God, daddy-o. Don't worry. Na-abịa ka ị na-enye ka Chineke na-afụ gị, ọ ga na-enye gị na-agọzi gị mmiri mmanụ dị na-ebugo ite gị ama akọnata atanata ata. Ọka dị na udugu ama agwụnata agwụ na-enye anaga na-etene gị egwu na-enye kete enye ka ogburie iwe olue. He go choke you. It is true. God loves a cheerful giver. And abundant sowing will give abundant reaping. But that cheerful giving and abundant sowing, it's not just for the scribes. It's not just for the maintenance of men of God, a bishop or pastor or father. Nsukka, basele pass. Genwe shwelege bashkuru. Na tegde go, bama uniform. Na ne chine he father na ebe he. Echime father. Atekote go jegote tokumbo 10 million or 8 million gorumoto vi fada ndege age nwetele ọrụ oyibo ro kune mutadegoy. He go choke you. You give them to yes. Our people will always support their religious leaders. They give, they make sacrifices, and God will keep blessing them. But they are giving that so that you will be healthy enough and able to work for them. Dedicate yourself for them. Notice those in need and help them. 20 people may advertise. I have trained up to 200 people. From where? Okay, go ahead to Taribi. Just like government scholarship. If government gives scholarship or builds road, government expects me to clap for government. No be a work. Now your money. When people who inconvenience themselves, trusting in God, do the right thing, God will bless them. But if you, being in an advantaged position, exploit those who do the right thing, he go choke you. Your own sentence will be severe. Some people trust God and continue to do the right thing. Others, in their own selfishness, exploit them. That is the difference we have to take away today. Marambi belong. It's not about having money or not having money. It's about trusting God. It's not about benefiting or not benefiting from the contributions. It is about exploitation. Yes. So long as your office requests or requires that or demands that, it is legally, religiously permitted that you live from the contributions of the people. But it is not permitted that you swallow. Finally, go abonyene and made the right thing. If you are struggling to do the right thing and are inconveniencing yourself, don't ever get discouraged because some people are exploiting your trust in God. God sees beyond what we are doing externally. God sees. That's why Jesus said, others didn't see what that woman gave, but I saw it. Other people see these scribes as men of God and men of prayer, but I see it is an empty show. Some people trust in God. Others exploit them. Which class do you belong to?